What up? What up?
Yo, what up?
Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, my dude.
Awesome. How you doing, man?
Good. Welcome to Strictly for My Diggers.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
This is good. This is good.
Yo, the name Yoga Flame Kane, please explain that. Do you practice yoga or what's the science behind that?
It's like it's obviously a Street Fighter 2 reference.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So the yoga and just the whole mental side of making music and making beats. I'm a very analytical thinker, so that kind of fit. And then the yoga and then the flame is the beats.
Right.
You know what I mean? I used to go by a name Arcane, and I took that Kane, and then I just made it one.
Cool.
You know,
Kane. That's what's up. That's what's up. So you out there in Utah?
Wow. Salt Lake City, boom.
Lake City. Wow, that's crazy because I thought you were from California, like LA, Los Angeles.
Born and raised in Utah.
Wow, wow. So why the boom bap? Being from out there, why the boom bap? You know what I mean?
It's like when I started listening to hip hop, probably say middle school, high school.
Right.
You know, all my friends were listening to Ludacris and I like that. I like that stuff too.
Right.
You know, DMX and you know, that's a lot of classic stuff. But I always had a different ear. I was always listening to Wu-Tang, Gangstar. Like Primo is my all-time favorite producer of all time.
Yes,
so huge influence. You know, Alchemist, Mobb Deep. That's just what I like. I like the raw, gritty.
Right.
I can't really explain it being from. I think that's just a way to let out my aggression.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? It's like a release, and like just the beats. Like a lot of people think like you said, I'm either from California or New York. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people say I have like a Queensbridge type of sound.
Yeah.
Which is what I still listen to this day. That's what inspires me. You know, it's like that.
Right.
So
being from Utah, you've got to stick out like a sore thumb when it comes to the beats, right? Is there a lot of boom bap? What's the scene like? Is there a lot of you out there, a lot of people like yourself out there that's making that fire?
Yeah, I would say my man Brisk One, you know, he's a legend. I mean, he's worked with Planet Asia.
Okay.
He's worked with the Grip, and he's a producer, DJ. We kind of have a similar style. But he's a little bit more versatile than I am, I think, because he can kind of work with anybody. Because he is a producer, that's what he does. Right. You know, as far as I kind of fell out of the scene. I don't know a lot what's going out there. I have a lot of friends that are still doing stuff, but not as hard as it, you know, that they used to.
Right.
But yeah, man, so I started to just venture out. You know what I mean? Like trying to reach out to people outside of my circle. I'm kind of a loner as far as like music goes. I kind of keep to myself and just do my own thing. But I wouldn't say a lot of people have this sound, but that's what I like about it. You know, when I say I'm from Utah, people are just blown away.
Yeah, I was blown away.
It's like, you know, a lot of people, it's hip hop's I mean, Utah's not a hip hop state at all.
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't think anything like that. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of works in my favor. It's like, so this is what Utah's about. Right. You know what I mean? So like, got to put on for my state.
So being from Utah, you basically had to venture out to give beats, not even be in the local scene.
Yeah, I mean, I worked in the local scene for a long time.
Okay.
But you know how it is. It's like they don't like you in the city.
Right.
Not necessarily they don't like you. It's just the support. It's kind of like competition, or they won't start catching on until someone outside.
That's how it is.
And that's almost not even just with Utah, but that's with like a lot of different places. I mean, you're never hot in your own town until someone else that like vouches for you outside, unfortunately. But I put in a lot of time in the local scene. So I mean, I paid my dues. I've been doing this for over 15 years.
Right.
But I just feel like I've been hitting my stride as far as getting different artists to work with.
Right. Yeah, just reaching out and not.
Yeah, and people reaching out to me. Yeah, and people reaching out to me is a blessing too, man, because you know, I started making just like beat videos with like movie clips and stuff. and that garnered a lot of attention, and that started to get around. So I got people reaching out. It's been good, man.
Right. So what year did you start making beats?
I think 2006,
Okay.
2007.
Okay.
That's like, and I gotta tell you, I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Mm.
You know, there was no one around me that was doing it. I think I went to Guitar Center one day and I was just like, I was just like messing around.
Right.
I was like, this is something, I mean, I already listened to hip hop, I'm going to give it a shot.
So what was your first piece of equipment? What did you start with?
My first piece was, man, I can't even remember the name, but it was like a rolling drum machine.
Okay.
You couldn't sample, but you could program the synths and stuff.
Right.
Kind of started on that. Then the next thing I got was the MPC 1000.
Okay.
That was like, and I still stick with the MPC to this day. I have a 2500, which I've had since then, probably since 2008.
Right.
Like when they first dropped.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like, that's my baby. So like, I know that like the back of my hand,
Right. Okay. So no software for you then?
So actually, I just barely got into the software game probably like 3 years ago. Started using Reason.
How you like it?
I do. I like it. The workflow is good, but it's really just taking it from the MP and putting it into the software and like editing it is a lot easier than it is on the doing it on the MPC.
Yeah, you can see it. Like,
and you can track it out.
Right. Because I noticed because I started, like I said, I started with the MPC 2000.
Yep.
So back in like 98, 99, 2000.
Yep.
And I noticed with those hardware machines, you're making beats by ear. You have to listen to them.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But when you start dealing with software, you're making beats by eye because you can see.
It's like the MP will have you can see like a basic waveform, but you're really small. It's small and it's not accurate.
Right.
And so it's like counting bar. Yeah. And it's like you're making it, you don't see anything.
Right. You hear it.
And I think for me and you, that's a benefit.
Right.
Because it's like now it's just so easy now. You can get a piece of software, and the kids that have it now, the kids these days have it easy. YouTube videos, software. It's
right.
Man, it was years of just like blood, sweat, and tears, frustration.
Exactly. And this is what I was going to ask you. Do you think with the software, because there's a lot of beat makers who are out there now, I've only been making beats a year, and they're already getting placements and sounding way too ill. And I'm like, wait a minute, I had to bust my ass.
Bust our asses for sure.
Bust my ass on that MPC. I mean, toil over, slave over, trying to do this, sometimes not coming up with nothing. And I noticed these guys got placements and they've been only making beats for a year. So would you say that software is saving these guys, helping these guys out, and just anyone just get a program and boom, become a beat overnight?
I think it's a little bit of a combination of the software and the ease of it. Like you can just pick it up pretty quick. It's not too hard. Fruity Loops grid, kick and snare, you just place, where right on the grid. And you get first play, and it's right there. We're in here hold and record, overdub. We're over here.
Trying to figure things out, trying to figure out how to chop. I didn't know what chopping was. I didn't know what looping was. I hardly didn't know what a kick, a snare, none of that was.
I didn't even know what bars were, bro. Right. You know what I mean? It's just it's crazy how far someone like me and you have come, because we didn't have the internet. So I'm thinking it's the software, and there's mad YouTube channels out there that teach you how to what pitfalls to avoid.
Right.
They're like the steps that we had to take. They're like, they're taking an elevator. It's they're already there. It's and so they've got that sound, and it's in half the time, even less than that. You know what I mean? But to each their own.
Yeah. So you're on the MPC 2000, 2500?
I'm on the 2500. Yep, the black one.
Gotcha. I'm gonna ask you a question, but there's no need to even ask because I see the vinyl right there in the corner. So you obviously are a digger.
Yep.
Are you still digging, or have you transferred over to just using YouTube online?
So mainly digging. I bought a couple synths about 3 years ago. So it's just more trying to do original compositions, trying to get good at the synth game, trying to create my own samples.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'll create something, and then record it into the MP. It's like, so it's like a sample. I'm not chopping it up, you know, like, but digging's always, you know, so I've whittled down my library quite a bit, but I still dig. So that's the bread and butter. That's always going to be there.
Right. So y'all got some really dope spots in Utah to find vinyl?
There's more now. I mean, I've gone to out of state record conventions, friends, swap meets. As far as like actual record stores, I say within the past few years, you have been popping up. There was a main one, Randy's Records here in Salt Lake City, still there. That's like the main joint, but it's nothing like, you know, like a Cali or a. Those records are out here somewhere. They may just be in someone's basement, but that's why after a while, I had to like flip the shit that no one else was looking for. So like, I wasn't doing the typical soul. I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for the shit that looked like 1982 cheesy ass cover. Usually had like the illest like intros, like synth stab and shit before it got super cheesy and corny and upbeat and shit. But so that's like my style. Just had to like dig different.
So when you go digging, do you know what you're looking for, or you just flipping through the crates as far as like when you're in the record store?
I know what I'm looking for in a sense of if it's an artist I've sampled before, but basically it's like I can tell by the look of the dude on the cover, like this is just gonna have some heat. You know what I mean? Like just like that. I sample mainly from the 80s, some 70s stuff. I'll have to pull out some. I got some like Israeli like prog rock records and you know, like some synth wave random shit, you know. So and people send me samples too, like, will you flip this?
Yeah, that helps.
So I do that too.
That helps too. Because I noticed like the digging online versus crate digging. It's like with crate digging online, I don't know what to look for. I'm just typing in whatever. But when I go to the record store and I'm digging, like you said, I'm looking at the covers, and it's always, I don't bring a record player or me. It's like you always find those surprises.
I don't even
go home.
Yeah, I don't even listen to them, dude. I just go home and just start skimming. And you know, I'll get a stack and I'll go through all of them and just record anything I hear that's dope right there on the spot. So I'll maybe have like 10 samples after like getting a stack of crates. And then I'll save those and come back to them later, you know, like with a different ear. But like something catches my ear, I'm going to sample it, maybe not chop it up right at the bit, because sometimes for me, it's like if I do that and I don't have something else, if I get frustrated, I'm like, it's not, I want something else to work on. So I don't want to spend too much time. And like I like to sit on it for a little bit too and see what it sounds like.
Because do you find that some of your dopest beats come like that, like in 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, isn't that how it goes? That's crazy how that works, because the stuff that I've spent hours on, it's like it's all right, but sometimes they're like that's dope. We can tell you worked on that. But sometimes it's just the ones that are like a quick 15 minutes, dude. Like, and it's like, man, I want to add more to this. It's so simple, but you can't add too many spices to the dish.
Absolutely. So how do you know when enough is enough?
That's a good question. I have to force myself to finish a beat. So I'm like, all right, this is good. I'm gonna do maybe like a little bit of a structure and leave it. I'm not gonna add anything else. Like I have to walk away. And sometimes I'll add too much. I'm like, it's just too busy. But then again, it's like, that was too easy. But then again, you got to think like, I've been doing it so long, so it does come easy. You know, so it is what it is. It's just, we're all self-critical. You know, we're all stuff like, but really the listener isn't going to pick out every little nuance. Like we have our own little nuances.
So
you got to kind of, like you could just be a kick and a snare and a sample, no hi-hats, you know, and a sick bass stab, one note. And let it ride, you know what I mean?
Let it ride, yeah. Because sometimes the last element is the MC.
Well, you got to give them, you don't want it to be too busy, otherwise it's going to take away from their storytelling, right?
They need room. They give them just enough. That's why I like Derringer. I was always a big fan of Derringer because he was simple but effective.
And that was another thing. Like I always felt like my stuff was too simple, but it's really not, because you're trying to give them something to paint a picture over. It's like a canvas, right?
Right.
And you don't want too many things going up, too many distractions necessarily. Just got to kind of keep it simple, because the focus is the MC on the beat. You know, if you're doing like an instrumental album, maybe do something different like that, like go all out. But as far as like if you're giving it to a rapper, yeah.
So you mentioned you sample from the 80s. Why is it the 80s? I know there's a lot of people like the 70s.
Yep.
What was it about the 80s samples that you like the best?
I'm just like a huge 80s like movie soundtrack. I just love that sound, like synths and like arpeggios and stuff.
Right.
And really it was just like that was the kind of stuff I was finding out here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, people I'm not like a Ninth Wonder type of jigger where I'm going straight 70s soul. I'll get some like 80s soul, but it's just my ear is different. I love that stuff too, but like that's not my main. It's not what I dig for mainly. I like that dark, like synth and just like crazy like guitars and you know, power chords. And
I heard that on the album you did with Supreme Cerebral too, but we'll get into that later or whatever. So drums. Now, are all your drums coming off vinyl, or do you get packs? Where you getting your drums from?
Man, I got gigs of drums, bro. A lot of them are from breaks. It's just kind of like whatever sounds good at the moment. It's almost like I have too many. You probably know how that goes. You're just like flipping through snares, like.
But you know what? You always have those go-to. You can have millions of drum sounds, but you always got these maybe 5, 10 main drums that you use.
Yeah, like 10 snares, 10 kicks.
Right.
And it's like, man, I just used this one on the last two, but you know, who cares?
Right.
It works. It sounds good. Maybe pitch it a little bit, maybe like tune it, make it like fit with the sample or whatever, and make it sound a little bit different, add some reverb. You can always make it sound different. You could layer it. I like to layer like tambourines and rides with the like the snares and stuff.
That's crazy dope. So would you find a sample but someone else has flipped it, but you like the sample, do you still use it or do you bypass that?
I used to be a real stickler about that.
Right.
First starting out, because like I had just started, you know, the records I was getting had already been sampled a million times. And so that website, Who Sampled.
Oh man.
Man, I was on that. And I think there was another one back in the mid 2000s. I can't remember what it was called, but you would see who sampled it. And I'm like, yeah, I found this dope sample. But like the inside of me would be like, I got to see if someone else flipped it. Because sometimes it would be like, oh yeah, someone else, like so-and-so flipped that. You did, you know, you flipped it. But sometimes I'll just flip it for fun.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's cool. Like I know where this came from, but.
Yeah, and you mentioned Who Sampled. Now, Who Sampled gave me even more confidence because I'm like, oh, that's all they did? Damn, they just looped it and put drums on it.
Bro, and it's like these guys that we looked up, like, man, that beat's hard. And really, it's like the drums were already in the sample. They just took it and looped it.
Right.
They might have pitched it up and sped it up.
Right.
So it's like in the 80s BPM range or something.
Right.
But, and it makes you think like, wow, like I could do that.
Right.
You know, it's like it's kind of like not a big deal sometimes.
Because I'm like, damn, I'm really overthinking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of time, I'm like, yo, I'm really overthinking it because I'll be on Who Sampled and just check out, type in a producer, and I'm like, because when you hear the song, you're like, wow, he probably played every element or sampled and put every element in the sample, but it was already in the sample.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like this, maybe like just the snare was in the sample.
Right.
And he's like chopping it just to the snare.
Right.
And then adding a kick. And maybe there's already a hi-hat in there somewhere, like the elements. And I'll do that too. If there's elements in there, like hi-hats, I'll just add the drums. I won't add anything else because now you've got your natural rhythm already in the joint. You know what I mean? Like the BPM and like the.
Yeah. But you know, there's another flip side to Who Sample where it's like sample snitching, and it's kind of like, You know,
Yeah.
they're putting people on blast, like, wow, you
It's
know.
funny. I think last year was the first time I actually made it on to Who Sampled.
Oh wow.
Someone found one of my samples.
Oh
I
wow.
was like, damn, I made it.
Ah, yeah, right.
I was like, man,
Wow.
I've been looking at this website for years.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
that's how you got it. It's a good website because then you got to get creative.
Yeah.
You can't just be going to the same, like, wow, like someone's already dug all these records. I got to find something different and
Right.
make it work and make it work.
Right. Right.
You know what
Right.
I mean? That's the beauty of chopping and pitching it up and
Hmm.
just filtering it.
Yeah. 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 So how do you like? How do you know when it's time to chop the sample or loop it?
Well, if I start with like a basic drum beat,
Hmm.
I might just, you know, play the loop over it. And I mean, if it's grooving,
Hmm.
like right off the bat, I might just keep it.
Right.
Sometimes I'll chop it to different pads. So I am looping it,
Hmm.
but I'm fitting it to the specific drum.
Right.
So it's like I'm like,
Hmm.
going through and it's a loop, but I chopped it and then I'm reconstructing it.
Gotcha. Because
You know what I
you have a
mean?
lot of heads that are chop, 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 but you could chop it up into all these pieces and it still be garbage. And then
Absolutely.
sometimes you can mess up a groove by always
Yeah,
chopping something. No, sometimes you just gotta let that loop rock.
exactly. Sometimes like I think sometimes the less is better because like even just two chops,
Right,
just to maybe on the one and the three, and just let
right,
that shit ride, just so it's on point. It doesn't sound like it's off
right,
because the point of the chop is to graft it to the drums, make it
mm, right,
fit.
right. So I'm gonna say this, like the classic producers, the Pete Rocks, the DJ Premiers, I've noticed like back then they were showing their skill as a producer. Like DJ Premier would take a chop from this record, that record, this record, and make it make sense. They
Hmm.
were showing their
Yeah.
skill as a producer. But I noticed this era is more so they're showing their skill as far as their ear.
Hmm.
So a lot of
Yeah.
times they may not be chopping a whole lot of this. It's really about your ear, giving something funky for the MC to rhyme to. You're showing off your ear, you know,
Yep.
versus, from back in the day was your skill. You were showing, hey, I can take this, chop this, grab another record, take a few pieces from that, put this whole big collage together.
Hmm.
This is when they had that wall of sound where there's in one beat there was
Yep.
multiple samples. This is before
Yep.
sample clearances and all that.
Hmm.
But nowadays, I notice as a producer, these newer guys they're showing off their ear for music. So even if
Yep.
they're just looping something or they're looping something irregular that wasn't
Yep.
even meant to be looped, they're showing off their ear.
Yeah. It's almost like it's getting a little bit more artsy. Like
Right.
the samples are like I can't even explain because like I'm not a huge fan like of the drumless stuff. I do it
Right.
once in a while, but
Mhm.
to me it's like I feel like I cheated. I need to chop it. I need to make it my own. I need to add my own.
Right.
That's just me personally. I know that's kind of the wave, um,
Right.
and I like it. Rock Marcy.
Shout out to Rock.
tho- Those are the dudes that can really make that shit. Not everyone can rhyme over that kind of shit.
Right.
So, and it's not even a loop. It may just be like a whole fucking 1 minute of a song, and
Right.
they're just like rapping over it. Could be some obscure German prog rock record that you won't ever find in the States.
Right.
Like I noticed Alchemist is kind of doing that a lot,
Yeah.
like his newer stuff.
Mhm.
Really obscure, dark um, sounds. And it sounds like the drums are already in there. He's just like playing them like the sample. Um, he's still doing his thing. Like he's top three for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Alchemist.
Yeah. Love the album.
But yeah, man, yeah, he's a legend. So
Yeah, he's definitely a legend. So when you turn the machine on to make a beat,
mhm.
what do you set your bars to? Do you set your bars with 4 bars? Do you start with 2? Do you start with 8, 16 bars? When
I
you
usually
start that,
start.
that sequence.
I usually start with two,
Hmm.
sometimes one, just
Right,
like a boom boom bap, just kind of looped up.
right,
Sometimes I won't even start there. If I have a sample, I'm already chopping it, then
mhm,
that might come later.
Right.
You know, if I'm playing something like, oh, I could chop this up into two, and then on the four, I could add this chop in, and so it'd be like it's almost like I'd rather make the most out of a 2-bar loop. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
stretch it, make it work as much as you can. Because I've chopped stuff on here where I've had like 30 chops, bro, and it gets overwhelming because you're like, man, I want to use that and that and that and that, but you got to kind of try and limit yourself, because that's the way you're going to get better, and challenge yourself.
Right. Because I've gotten kind of spoiled. Like I started digging online, right?
Yep.
And using that YouTube MP3 where you can download the song and put it in MP3 form and put it in on the pad, and chopping through the whole record and just grabbing chops out of the whole record, just chopping through the record versus using vinyl and having to pull the record back, and you know what I mean, manually.
You might miss something, like
you might miss something. You got to pull it back precisely or whatever. But you're still using vinyl, so you're still pulling the record back. Or you trying to?
I mean, I sample from everywhere, bro. Like I'm not like a strictly vinyl digger. Right. So I mean, I've got albums, and I mean, I sample from tapes.
Oh wow.
Cassette tapes, DVDs that you find in like a dollar bin somewhere from old Japanese like monster movies or something. To me, it's all sound, dude. So and most people aren't going to be able to tell. You can make it sound like it came off a record with the plugins now.
Right.
So it's like you have this vast resource with the internet and like all types of stuff. Like I don't like to limit it to just vinyl. I kind of used to be like that in the beginning, but in the past 10 years, it's kind of blown up. I'll take my mom's old CDs, and sample those.
Right. So what comes first, the sample or the drums?
I think lately it's been the sample first. I don't know if you do the same thing, but I have like maybe 10 what I call drum shells. They're like drums that I programmed that I can just load up real quick.
Okay.
And get like a groove going, and then switch out the drums or switch out the program. Just something, so I'm not programming straight off every time.
Right.
So something that grabs, so it like automatically loads up with a programmed drum break.
Right.
Stuff like that. Like I usually start with the sample, but in the beginning I started with drums and just grafting the.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I go through phases.
I do too.
One time I used to start with the sample, chop the sample up, play the sample to get the chops, have the rhythm how I want it, and then do the drums. But one thing I started noticing, like with me, I'm not a drummer, so sometimes that boom boom it gets boring, you know. So now lately I'm starting with a drum break. I'll find a drum break that I like, because the rhythm, like I'm not a drummer, so sometimes you want a different rhythm. I don't know how to freak them drums. Let's like say like a heat maker where they got the rolling drums and all these incredible crackles and all of that. But if you could find an ill drum break, once that drum break you got that looped up and it's rocking, you can put just about anything on top of it. Chops and all that. And I noticed my beats are sounding a lot more iller.
Yep. So do you use software?
Well, I got the MPC Studio now.
So like I don't know if it's the same. Like in Reason, there's something where you can loop up a drum break and bounce it, and the program will like detect how the groove is. So it's like you go in and like for your swing setting, if you did like let's say impeach the president, right, like I have that groove, I just add my own drums and it swings just like that. So there's different ways you can still get that sound, but with your own drums.
Right. So you wouldn't loop a drum loop or break. You play out your own pattern.
Yeah, on the MP, that's what I do. Over the years I've studied, like the different velocities of the drums. That helps. If all your hi-hats are one velocity,
Right.
it's gonna get, it doesn't sound
Mm-hmm.
natural, even though you're not really gonna sound natural because it's a machine. You're not really like,
Right.
but you can make it sound,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if like you have 4 hats and they're all different
Right.
levels, and like the kicks, like the first kick would be a lower volume, so it's like the, you know,
Right.
so it's like the
Right.
velocities.
Right. Right. So are you quantizing? You're quantizing all your drums, or you're quantizing
No,
all?
it depends on the beat, but even with quantized, you can make it sound unquantized.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you can shift your snare earlier or later.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe one would be late, one would be early, so you still have that feel. But for the most part, if I do quantize, it's just to get a basic groove going.
Right. Right.
You know, but sometimes, like, you know, just as long as the snares are in place,
Mm-hmm.
I can do the kicks and the hi-hats with no quantize. Like something's got to anchor it.
Right.
You know, I gotta have some sort of anchor to drive it.
Right.
So
So
just different things, you know.
Mhm. So what is the, I'm gonna ask you, what is the hardest part of beat making for you? What do you feel your weaknesses that you need to work on? What's, the hardest part? Like for me, is bass lines.
Okay, yeah, and that was me, dude, for like years.
Right.
That was something I worked on a lot.
Mhm.
I'm a lot better now, just learning basic music theory.
Right.
So like if you can find the main note, the main key of the sample,
Right.
then the rest of it's pretty easy if you can just find a scale. But
Mhm.
usually if you just do your note and a fifth,
Mhm.
you're not gonna go wrong with that. So
Mm.
bass lines, I've gotten a lot better.
Mhm.
I would think like my mixing skills
Right.
up until the last 2 years, like when Corona hit,
Mhm.
when the virus hit, I spent a lot of time learning how to mix my own stuff
Mm.
because I hated tracking it out. I got frustrated. It just didn't sounded muddy. I didn't know what I
Right.
was doing. So I usually take my stuff to someone to get it
Right.
mixed if
Yeah.
it's like an
Yeah. So do you think every beat needs to be mixed? Sometimes just leaving it raw. Have you left it
no.
raw?
Sometimes it's just raw, dude, like right out of the machine. You
Right.
know, maybe I'll go in and adjust the EQ a little bit.
Mhm.
You know, if it's too muddy or if it's too low. But dude, like just that's what I used to do before tracking everything out. It was just
Right.
like that's just how you're gonna get it. It sounded more cohesive,
Right.
and it just sounded like the MPE has like a different sound, but it's just
Right.
straight out of the box. So
Yeah, yeah. So basically, you weren't even giving stems. You were just giving the beat, and they took it as is.
in the beginning, yeah, in the early
Yeah.
years, yeah, oh
Right.
yeah,
And it worked.
because it worked. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, it was
it
like
worked.
I mean, they would do for the most part. If they like the beat, they probably like the mix. You know, for the most part, but if they ask for the stems, like I track everything out now. I'm
Mhm.
pretty good. I got way better at it. Um, that's if someone wants to buy a beat, then I'm gonna throw in the stems, you know, just to make it a better deal. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right, yeah, yeah. That's pretty dope, though. Yeah, but how many people really ask for stems nowadays? I notice some people take it as is now.
yeah, a lot of people do. When I hooked up with Supreme,
Mhm.
he's very professional.
Right,
And he asked for the stems, and I already had them all laid out. I was just like, let me know when you want them sent, send
right,
them over, get them mixed
right,
and mastered professionally. And which is what I did because like he's professional, and that's how I want it.
hmm
I'm not necessarily against just doing it out of the box, but um, I like someone that can wants it to sound the best that it
right.
can.
Now that could be kind of tricky too, because
Mm-hmm.
an engineer can mess up your beat,
Yep,
and so.
exactly. And but if it's someone, if someone's buying a beat,
Mhm.
you know, go for it, you know. But if it's like a project, then yeah, I want to kind of
You
have
wanna
some input
Yeah,
on the
you wanna
sound
have some input on it, right?
for
You
sure.
saying if someone's buying the beat, and they ask for stems, I'm sure if you buy they buy a beat, and they want stems, the beat it's gonna cost a little bit more, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
The
It's
stems.
more, it's more work. I mean, I can give you, you know, it's like if you just want, I guess if you just want to lease it, but I'd rather give you the whole thing, you know. But
Right, 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 right. So let me ask you this question, because I ask a lot of beat makers because of the times we're in now, where you know we're way past the stage, the phase of selling beats for 20,000, 80,000, 50,000 a beat. That's era's dead.
Mm-hmm.
What I notice now is a lot of beat makers like you and Supremo did are doing projects,
Yeah,
and doing the splits. Would you
exactly.
rather do that, or would you rather just sell beats?
I'd rather do a project
Right.
because it's going to be a more cohesive project, and we're both got our input, and we're both going in half on the mixing, the mastering,
right,
the recording. I'm sending the stems, so it's like a you know, and then once it drops, then we split everything.
right.
I like that, like a one producer,
Right.
one MC project type. I like that flow. So
Now, do you feel that's a better way for producers to really make money and get paid? Because selling beats, I mean, like I said, that era of really getting real money for beats is over with when you got people on SoundCloud and other platforms selling beats for $50, $25.
yep.
You know,
Yeah, like I know BeatStars, like
right.
I mean you can lease a beat like 25, but if you want the exclusive, so like they're reselling the same beat over and over basically. It's like
right.
So like someone may have that, there might be 100 people that have bought the $25 lease,
right.
but the person who actually buys it, someone's already rapped over it 100 times.
Right. Right. Now,
So
are you against using BeatStars? Do you
no, no,
like that? Do you?
I've done it. I haven't had too much success. I've been more just trying to work with people, trying to get the money side of it out of my head,
right.
and just actually work with people that I want to work with. If it's someone that I actually want to work with, and I don't, we'll just make it happen.
Right.
But if it's someone that I don't know and they're reaching out to me and they want to buy something, then yeah, like.
Right. So do you get a lot of people reaching out to buy nowadays? Is it lucrative, like as far as to have a career and not have to work?
No. I mean, to me, it's like I just like doing it, even if I never worked with another rapper again.
Right.
I just like making music.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's just like a release for me. You know, it's not. It's really more about the art. You know, at this point, the selling, the beat selling game. If that comes, that's cool. But I just like to put out dope shit, as dope as I can.
Right.
You know, quality music, and let the money come later. If that's just the icing.
Right. Now, would you sell a beat or give beats to an artist that you did not like if they approached you?
Sell a beat?
Sell them a beat? Yeah. Would you? It's an artist that you don't like. You're not into the artist. You know what I mean?
Like the music.
Like their music, yeah, not their personality, but their music. Like
Yeah,
for example,
yeah.
let me give an example. And I'm not going to say any names, but there's a lot of people who are hot on the underground scene. I'm talking about within our genre, what we do, that are hot. That let's say you're not really feeling them. I mean, he's hot. People are working on him, blowing up, but you're not feeling this cat. Nah, I ain't really got no interest in working with him. But he comes to you and wants to buy beats. Would you sell him the beats, or would you be like, nah, because I'm just really not into him?
I would, because if he's got a good following, just because I don't like his music, he may have like a good following, and that's just more opportunity to get the music out there. That's just me personally. I guess it would be a case by case. Depends on how much I don't like the music. But if it's someone, I mean, there's a ton of underground rappers, like I like them. They're talented, but I'm not super into their music.
Right.
And if they reached out, damn right, I would.
Right.
I would, yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
If they got a good following, like help me help you type of thing, yeah, for sure.
Right. So on average, how many beats are you making a day?
I try and do like, I try to work on something every day. Probably at least one a day. I play 5 a week. Okay. You know, because I got a full-time job. Sometimes there's more. You know, it just depends. Like I have stuff I've started like years ago, and I'll go back into it and I'll finish it with a different ear. Right. So it's like I'm always got something in there to work on, even if I don't have new samples. So.
Right. So how do you combat beat block? Because I know there's times you go in and just nothing works.
Yep.
Just nothing works. Sometimes it could be days. Sometimes it could be months. You know, what do you do to combat that?
I just let it pass, bro. Like a lot of people say you got to force it, but I don't like to force creativity because at the end of the day, like if you force it and you don't like what you just made,
right,
you're just gonna get frustrated. So it's okay to take some time out. Take a couple of days out. Go read a book or something. Go walk around the park.
right.
Go play some sports. Go hang out with some, you know.
Right.
It's not all about making beats. At least for me, it's like there's more to life than that. But like it happens to all of us.
Yeah, it does.
So you
I
just
don't
gotta.
push it for months.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I have time. I've had almost like a year or two, just like on and off. I was just either too busy or just wasn't inspired.
Right. So when working with Supreme Cerebral, were you working with other artists too, or did you just focus and lock in to his project?
I think that time when he reached out, I've already been working with a cat named Beth Luciano.
Yes.
I don't know so me and him have put out a couple projects, and that's my dog. So I'll always anything he needs, we're on the same page. I'll always just throw him beats.
Right.
He's a cool cat. He's talented. I like him.
Where's he based? Where's he from?
I want to say like I think he's in Texas now, but he might be based out of Boston, but I'm not 100% sure. That's like another thing about meeting people online. You don't have like a super close relationship. It's more like just the music, but
right.
But yeah, and then I have put out some singles past couple of years. I worked with Ty Ferris, Daniel's son, Noah the Flood, Husk Kingpin.
No,
so
that's how I found out about you. That was a fire ass song.
That song really, I think, when I made that beat, I was like, I got to get Huss on it, and that was a really good look for me because that's like a lot of people's favorite track.
Yeah, that was a dope track. So you gave that to him on the arm, like here, this.
So I reached out to him because I wanted to work with some people. So like I paid him for a verse. I'm like, I want you on this track. So that's my track. But I was like, yo, but if you want to use it on which he did, he used it on one of his projects. I was just trying to get my name out there. And it helped a lot. I just reached out. I'm like, hey, what do I got to do to get like a 16? Boom bap, and he got it done in like 4 days. So
now, have you met any of these guys that you work with? Like, have you met Supreme Cerebral in the physical?
Yep, he came out. He's got family out here in Utah. He came out last year and kicked it right here on this couch. We're just chilling, talking about the album. So yeah, we were able to meet. He's like one of the only ones that I've actually met. Other than local cats. This is all.
So you haven't. So you two haven't worked side by side in the studio then?
No, not with him recording. We just kind of met up, and he was in town for his nephew's birthday, family member's birthday, and we were going through beats. He's like, "Yeah, I gave you that one, that one." I think he left with like maybe 3 or 4 ones for the actual album. We were already like 4 songs deep at that point, but he picked some more, and so yeah, it was just more like chilling and talking about the album.
So do you think emailing beats now takes away from the actual cohesiveness of an album? You know, instead of working like side by side in the studio with the artist?
I think in a way, but I don't really. I mean, I grew up in the era where that's just kind of the norm now. You know what I mean? Like internet, sending beats. You don't have to mail cassette demos and. So for me, I don't come from that era, so it's like it's hard for me to say I would. I would rather be there with the artists and get my input and stuff, but
because we're also artists ourselves. Like, because I noticed, like, and I'm sure you went through it too, where you send somebody a beat, but you wanted them to start right here. No, this was supposed to be the chorus, or you know what I mean, or this you're supposed to really. What you rhymed about, I saw this really more so as a female song, more than just you spitting bars, you know. And that gets lost with emailing beats.
It can.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. With this project, he would send me stuff back and forth. Like, here's my verse. Like, what do you think? How do you think of the mix? Like, I all around, he's a super easy dude to work with. Very professional.
Right.
And he'll tell me if he doesn't like it. Like, that was another thing, is like, that's a good thing about selling beats or making people pay, because you probably have sent beats to people and they sit on them forever and you don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
So he never did that. He's like, I want this one. I don't like this one. I don't like that batch. Just tell me up front. I don't care. It's not for everybody. Not every beat I make is going to be for Supreme. You know what I mean? It's going to be for someone else.
Right.
You never know who's going to like that one.
Right.
So.
Right. And you didn't get offended. Now, have you ever sent him something that was just hot and you're like, yo, he got the rap over this, but he didn't like it?
Oh yeah, dude. I thought I sent stuff over. I'm like, man, I want this on the album, but he's like, I wasn't really feeling it. I'm like, cool.
But deep, and it turned like, yo, this is the one. Like, are you serious? Like, this is the one. That's what I think.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Because this now it's just like you're sending off like a beat pack,
right?
And they're just kind of like sitting in there. You don't get to see their face, like if they're really feeling it.
Right.
You know, it's like, I just like it. You know, they just tell you like they like it.
Now, speaking of beat packs, how many beats is in a pack for you?
3 or 4. Really? I don't do mega, because like I don't want to overwhelm the artist. So I'll send like 3 at a time.
So when you're, let's say you want to work, let's say you already said, let's say Smooth. You know Smooth, Hustler's homeboy Smooth.
Oh yeah.
You want to work with Smooth. You're gonna send Smooth 3 beats?
Yep.
Okay.
Send him 3 of my favorites, like ones I think.
Right.
And then if he's like, I like these, send more. Because if I was to send 20, I know if someone sent me 20,
right,
I'm just like, man, I just don't want to listen to all that. That's a lot. We all have a short attention spans now. I just want to give them like solid, maybe I would say 5 at the max. Like, here's 5 solid ones. Let me know what you think of these. If you want me to send more, let me know.
Right. Right. So when you're sending Smooth beats, is that for y'all to do a project, or just for him to have to get on his project?
If he reached out to me,
right,
and was like, send me a pack, I'll send him 5. If it's something like, if I reached out to him like, yo, I have this beat I think you would sound good on,
right,
I'm gonna send it to him. Just that one, you know. Just it really just depends.
Right. Right.
But sometimes, like for the Huss one, I had that in mind for Huss.
Right.
And he asked me to send more, but I'm like, I want you on this one. This is the one I want.
Right.
And so.
Right. Okay. So you didn't send any more, because you could have probably got an album out of him.
Oh, for Huss?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Huss, I paid for that as like a single. Like, I paid him. If I'm hoping to work with him in the future. I continue to send him beats, but he probably gets a ton of beats.
Tons.
In the mail. I'll message him. Like, he's messaged me before and be like, yo, send me that one. Like, if I post a beat video,
right, and
I'll send it, but he may forget, or maybe he's not gonna get to it. I'm sure these dudes' emails are just flooded. You know what I mean? And that's why I don't like to send too many.
Right.
Just, you know how it is. It's just too many options.
How do we as beat makers get to the point where people are flooding army email wanting beats? How do we get to that point? You know what I mean? Because I know as beat makers, we're always reaching out and wanting to get on, and we're giving these people beats for free.
Yeah.
Some of these people are taking these beats, rhyming over it, selling it, and we get nothing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question, man. That's like the $1 million question.
Short end of the stick a lot, and this is why I created this platform.
It's
like, how do we get it where people are flooding our email with verses like, yo, I want to rhyme over your beats. You know what I mean? How do we get it to that point?
It's like just reaching out of your area and reaching out to people, like taking a chance on people that you may not know if they'll like your stuff or not. That's really what it is. You know what I mean? Like,
it's better to form a crew. You know, like Derringer's the beat maker for Griselda. Do you think Yoga Flame Kane needs to attach himself with a entity?
I would do a group, or a crew if it made sense.
Right.
But I also kind of like the freelance type. Like I'm not tied down. I'm like a free draft pit, bro. Like I'm just out here. I'm a source, you know, just
Right.
I work with anybody or who, you know, I have options instead of being tied down with one. I may want to work with this person, but maybe that'd be a conflicting, you know what I mean? But
Right.
like if it was a group that would make sense, yeah, okay. I would do it. Yeah.
Now, did you do that back in the day when you were in the local scene? Did you have a crew?
Yeah. We had different group albums and where I would produce like full albums and
right.
just like paying dues, you know what I mean?
Right. So are we gonna get a Yoga Flame Kane? I don't know if you've done it already, but are we gonna get a Yoga Flame Kane instrumental album?
It's in the works. This one's gonna be it's gonna be all original. There's not gonna be no samples.
You're playing.
Playing.
All right. So let me ask you a question. You said it's not gonna be, but you're sampling yourself.
Yeah.
So like if you're gonna play a riff, you're sampling yourself playing that riff and then going in, dirtying it up, chopping it up. That was my original style of beat making. I didn't know nothing about making beats, so I was playing myself off this little cheesy keyboard. You know what I mean? Sampling myself, putting it in, looping it, or whatever, and going there, playing, you know, all of that. I was sampling myself.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what you're doing.
That's what I've been doing, and then or actually just like arranging chord progressions and stuff, like doing some stuff through Reason, because like I'm not musically trained, bro. You know, I'm teaching myself keys, teaching myself scales, and you get the basics. Like I can't really play, but if I know the scale, I can make it.
Right.
You know, like there's a joint on the new album called Dark Display. It's at the very end. With Ralphie Reese. That's all synths. There's no samples in that. There's a couple like little Mortal Kombat samples I threw in there, like, but that's all my synths, dude. Just
is that what you're transitioning to? No samples? Is that where you're headed?
I will always sample, but I do like creating my own sounds, and like I do love synths because like now after years of digging, I know what I want to play and what I want to hear. I can just recreate that.
Right.
Because sometimes like you know what you want to hear, like you know what you're looking for, but you can't find it.
Right.
Just gotta kind of just make it, you know.
Yeah. So all right, so we got the instrumental album coming. Now, are we gonna get a Dr. Dre Chronic from you?
Sheesh. That's what I wanted to do with all these singles I was putting out. There were a couple cats that kind of fell through and didn't hold up their end of the bargain, unfortunately. So I kind of was just like,
isn't that a pain in the ass?
Yeah, I mean, I paid these
verses and
paying these dudes for verses, and they just ghost.
Whoa! You paid them and they would just ghost you?
Because I was gonna make an album, bro, with Ty Paris, and I was gonna make a like you said, like a Chronic, dog. You know, like it's gonna be Dr. Dre, like all these MCs on it. I'm producing the whole thing.
And you paid dudes, and they would just get ghost.
Yeah,
and these are reputable. These are reputable dudes in the underground industry.
I don't know if you would consider some of them reputable. One in particular, just I would send him beats, and he was like, "I'm not feeling it." I'm like, "I don't care what you're feeling. I'm paying you. This is the one I want you to rhyme over. I'll send you a few, but that's like me going to go paint your house, and you know what color you want me to paint it, but I don't like that color, and I'm not going to paint it. It don't make any sense." So stuff like that. I mean, lessons learned. I'm not just gotta leave it at that. But I think eventually it's going to be a little bit easier after putting out this album that I could reach out and work a deal, because now it's like the name is a little bit out there and they know. Maybe I could do a project. Maybe just like I'll give you a beat if you give me a verse.
Right.
I'm totally cool with that.
Now you see how we get taken advantage of, how we get played, things left.
I've been getting played years, dog. You know, it's just one of those things, and for us, it's like it's really just speaking up. You know.
And let me say this. Let me say this before I lose this thought, though, right? Because if I'm paying for a verse, right, That means you work for me. So if I'm paying for a verse, I want you to record 3 verses. Let me pick out the one I want.
Yeah.
You know, just don't throw me any shit. Don't just throw me nothing. No, I'm paying you for a verse. You work for me. I want you to rhyme over this beat. Matter of fact, record 3 verses. Let me hear the one that I want.
Yeah,
I like to throw you a shit verse and then think you're supposed to be good with that.
Well, yeah, it's like if we're supposed to send out like 10 beats.
Right.
Like, send me 10 verses. Let's
right.
Let me see. Let me hear your acapellas, dog. Let me,
right.
you know, let me take one of your acapellas and I'll put it to one of my beats and see if I, you know, if I want to rock it. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's got to be to a point where maybe we got to do like a tit for tat. Like, if I'm going to send you all this shit, then like,
definitely. Because after season 3, you know, after I finish season 3, because I'm going to wrap it up after you and one other person. I want to have a roundtable discussion. I want to bring a lot of you on from different seasons for a roundtable discussion or Zoom, a real Zoom call where, you know, we going through beefs, we're playing what we've been working on. You know, we just really chopping it up. You know what I'm saying? I want to do that. Have you on there with J.R. Swift and you know, Don Carrera, all other people, because you've seen some of my
saw the one you did one with Vanderslice.
I had him come on.
He's like, as far as like the dude's doing it now. I think Vanderslice is one of my big influences.
Yeah, Vanderslice.
And then like Stu Bangas is a big one.
Ooh,
and so those guys, we're kind of cut from the same cloth. Like they have the same influences. They love that Queensbridge. They love that Alchemist type sound. So we kind of got that.
Just get all these guys together from all the different seasons for like a roundtable discussion. You know, everybody chopping it up. Everybody, what you been working on? What you been working on lately? We playing beats for each other. You know, just having a night. You know what I mean?
Me and my boy A1 Beats. I don't know if you heard of A1 Beats.
I haven't heard of him.
Me and him have like a little kind of like a production duo.
Right.
But his shit's hard too. I'll send you a link to his shit. Maybe get him on. But yeah, we would FaceTime and just play each other our beats.
Right.
And I'll make like a melody and I'll send it to him and he'll flip it. So it's like I'm giving him a sample and like it's a dual production. So it's like a production team.
Right.
So I'm totally down with that. I love production and that's my boy. So
yeah, cool. All right. So has the Chronic project that has been scrapped, or you're just like, hey, I'm just doing instrumental albums, forget everybody else?
I have an instrumental album in the works. I would love to work on a project like that. I think once I get a few more things, get a little bit more buzz, I can start reaching out to some people.
Right.
Because it's like, you know how it is. It's like you got to have some sort of, I guess clout. You know, like they've got to at least hear your name. Like, you know how some of the rappers are. They're pretty. There's some arrogant dudes out there, bro. And it's just like what's the arrogance for? You know, it's like if you don't want to work, then
you ain't Jay-Z yet, so don't. You know like don't. Even
I just don't see the point of anyone being arrogant in this shit.
Right.
You know, it's like, it's like a sport. You know, we're all competing, but you know, I don't know. I could go on and on about some of these dudes that are just like, but
it is what it is. But anyway, Yoga Flame Kane, you know, I'm so glad you jumped on. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I didn't know if you was gonna be on some Hollywoodness because you didn't drop this ill-ass project with Supreme Cerebral.
No.
I was like, we'll see. I'm gonna reach out.
Anything you need, bro, I'm here.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
I got that.
Appreciate that, man. Yo, the album is fire. I've been playing it all day. Been
Appreciate
rocking to it. I want to hear more. So any project you got, or just let me know about it or whatever. I definitely want to hear more from you. I always thought you was fire ever since I heard you on that Hush joint.
Appreciate it.
That dude is fly. Plus, I like the name Yoga Flame Kane. That shit is fire. So
that throws people off. It's like something a little bit different.
Definitely, I'm happy that little old me, doing this little platform out of my little living room.
I'm a humble dude, so I'm not flashy. I'm an introvert. I stay to myself. So anything you need, bro, hit me up.
Man, if you only knew how many people I done reached out to, and some of them been on some Hollywood, and some of these guys I've interviewed in the past, and I was like their first interview, but now they've took off a little something. and now you know they acting brand new, and it's crazy, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dog. I got you. Anything you need?
Yeah,
Yeah, let me know.
definitely. So once again, like I said, thank you for being on Strictly for My D.I.G.G.A.Z season 3. I'll let you know when this drops. You know what I mean? I got one more interview. Got to do the little slight editing, and you know, like I said, you know, you'll definitely be on it. I appreciate that. I wanted to celebrate you. You know, I tell everybody, the whole purpose of this platform is educational.
Yeah.
Because you know, there's a lot of other beat makers on here that are watching, that been on the past shows, that'll be on the upcoming shows, and you dropping knowledge, and a lot of them be like, "Oh, I do that too. Oh, I never thought about doing that."
I would love to like exchange like techniques and tips. Like,
yeah, and that's why I want to have that round table.
Once I got older, I was more open to that. I don't know if it was the same for you, but we always like had our own little techniques, and we didn't like to share.
Right.
I'm more open now. I'll share drum samples.
Right.
Techniques. Like, yeah. Like how did you make it sound like that? Like,
right.
It's I don't care anymore. I share anything. So
yeah. So definitely, I will be hitting you up for that round table discussion after season 3 comes out. I want to grab everybody from each season, a few from each season, and have that roundtable discussion or whatever. So stay tuned for that. Once again, man, much success to you. Let's keep in touch. You know what I mean? I'm there if you need me for anything. And yo, thank you for being on Strictly for My D.I.G.G.A.Z.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
All right, peace. Salute. Peace.
I would say now I ain't no Kobe.